instead of doing the usual click through the slides where I should tell you my notes, I thought I would do something a little bit different because we're in a different type of learning environment. So I thought I'd walk up and down my driveway, just explain the notes for relative dating. That is our topic today, is relative dating. I don't know where I'm going to put the text or how I'm going to do that just yet, so it might be up here, it might be down here, it might be this whole thing, it might just be right over my face. I don't know. So if you need to pause the video at any time, make sure you do so so that you can get the information that you need. So this is kind of go at your own pace and get a little adventure in your day for your notes. Yeah, that's all I got to say. So yeah, so how's it going? How's your day? How's spring break? No way, I can't believe that happened. I have no idea what you said, but I'm just gonna pretend like, you know, something exciting happened. I hope you had a great time. Hopefully your anxiety isn't too high. Enjoying some time with family. You wanna see my dog? You wanna see my dog? Do you? Okay. If you said no, just skip ahead, I don't care. Come here. This is Luca. Anything to say, Luca? All right, let's go. So there's different ways of telling how old a rock is. There's absolute age and there's relative age. Now, absolute age is the exact age of the rock. Relative age, what we're studying, is just comparing one rock to another rock to kind of figure out how old it is. So, I don't really have a rock that I can age and tell you how old it is. I don't have the technology to do that. But with this log here, I'm going to use this log as an example. Now, how do we find the absolute age of this log? You count the rings, right? Now, how do I know the relative age? Well, typically, the bigger the tree, the older it is. The younger the tree, the smaller it is, because it doesn't have as many rings. It starts growing from the center, and then just as it gets older, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until somebody cuts it down. So the bigger the tree, the older the tree is. Same thing goes for rocks, except not with size. There's a way to test how old the rock is. The way to test how old this log is to count the rings. The way to test how old a rock is, there's lots of, you know, radioactive testing and things that we're not going to get into. Just know that there are ways that we can say, hey, this rock, which I don't have a rock anywhere around me, but this rock is 100 years old, whereas this rock is 1,000 years old. Okay, there's ways of testing how old rocks are. But we're not going to be talking about absolute age. This whole unit is going to be on relative age. Now, relative age, that's a little different. The law of superposition states that the oldest rock is on the bottom of the rock layers, the youngest rock is on the top. So this is like if you're in your locker. So the stuff that's at the top of your locker, the pile of crap that you have that's in your locker, is going to be, you know, something related to earth science. So earth science, the maps. The bottom, though, would be like my procedures and things that I gave you at the beginning of the year, profile picture, things like that. But in the middle, that's going to be like life science, right before Christmas break. Anything to do with life science, genetics, biology, any of that stuff. I moved these thorns out of the way. Those thorns were there last because they were on top of this rock layer. So what was the next layer that was there? Well, let's try and find the oldest layer, and also we're going to see what else we find down here. So if I just dig down, I got some bricks, I got a piece of wood, got some leaves, and they're really mushy. Okay, I got a mossy brick here. I got some red brick. Okay, and last but not least, we got this massive chunk stuck in the ground. Hold on. So this big old chunk cinder block, holy crap, that's a lot bigger than I thought it would be. This big old guy was the first thing that was laid down. So this was laid down, then this red piece was laid down nice and flat, then this piece, then this rock, the wood, this mossy brick, and then this red brick. So you can see how these layers over time, now it wasn't nice and neat like this when I got here, but you kind of saw how I started to unbury it. You see that those layers that happen here? The oldest one was on the bottom. The newest one, the youngest rock, was on top. Oh, and of course we had our thorns on top. So, oldest on the bottom, youngest is on top. This is the law of superposition. In case the part in the woods was a little confusing, I have another spot that can explain the law of superposition. So let me get this set up here. When they stacked up these bricks, they stacked this bottom layer first, right? And then over time, the stack got taller. Youngest layer was up here, oldest layer, the first layer that was laid down, was down here. All right, so law of horizontality. What that means is that the rocks, when they first are laid down, they're laid down horizontal. It's pretty straightforward. Horizontality, horizontal. All right, let's get out of here. Now this one's gonna be a stretch. So we have something else called an unconformity. Now this is when there's been eroded rock that's been carved away. Now again, this isn't a rock example, but we all know that this isn't normally how trees look, all right? So right here, you can see that there's holes in this tree, right? Now, take a second. How do you think that these holes were put in these trees? It wasn't made that way, okay? This tree did not grow and have these holes in it. So how did that get there? Well, there was a bird that heard that inside this dead log, this is a dead log. I could literally just yank this off. Maybe if you subscribe, I'll pull this off. Make sure to click that like, and I'll pull this log off this tree. Why do people say that? Of course you're still gonna do it. Like why? Whatever, YouTube. Can't get enough of you. All right, so anyways, this tree was formed without the holes in it. But then when it died, there's ants and bugs and all sorts of things, creatures lived inside of it, okay, as a habitat. Well, this woodpecker came along and it's pecking at the side of this tree and gets the bugs, right? So this is what we call an unconformity. This is when there's been something that's been disturbed in the rock. Now again, this is not a rock, this is a tree, but this is just something I saw that this can happen, okay? Like if water comes through and rushes through, it can dig a hole in the rock. Okay, it just depends on the type of rock, depends on the weather, lots of different things. And we'll talk about that later when we talk about weathering and erosion. But again, the rock was originally formed horizontal, law of horizontality. This tree was originally formed as a branch, nice, evenly spaced branch. A nice branch that had no holes in it. Rocks are formed nice and flat without any holes, no valleys, nothing. But something happened to the rock. An earthquake could have happened. A river came through. Humans came through and dug into the rock. All right, we all know why you're here. Let's pull down the branch. Man, not that exciting, people. So, my grass was nice and even before, but when that branch fell, or I threw it to the ground, it made a hole in the grass. Okay, and that hole was caused by another outside force. Luca, get over here. I forgot, I let you go. Thank you. So here in Ohio, we don't have magma or lava that I can show you examples of igneous intrusions or igneous extrusions. The best example I have are plants. So this plant, it started deep down below this rock and it just slowly crept through various cracks. It's got sunlight and water, and it just slowly started to grow and push through that rock. It has broken through this rock just like igneous intrusions have. So this is the best example I have. So try to visualize the plant as some lava that has flown through from deep below the mantle, and there we go. That's our example that we have for igneous extrusion. Make sure that you write your definition for igneous extrusion down, and we're going to be good to go for igneous extrusion. Now the difference between an intrusion and an extrusion is that an intrusion stays inside of the earth. It never comes up like that plant. That plant came up through that rock, so therefore is an igneous extrusion. Now the final thing that I need to talk about is index fossils. Index fossils are a little hard to do in my backyard, just walking around, because I'm not digging up fossils and showing you these. Well, we'll talk about some examples using pictures, but the best way to describe it is that index fossils, they lived all over the place. They were widely distributed, but they lived only a short period of time. So they just were all over the world or all over the continent, and they died pretty quick. So it'd be a certain type of insect or bug or bird that, you know, was living for a long time, and it was living for a short period of time, but was widely distributed all over the world. So if you find one of those fossils, you can tell how old that rock is. So if you find one rock with an index fossil in it, and you find another rock with an index fossil, you know that these two rocks were the same age. It doesn't matter if it's on top of a hill or deep down in a valley. So, and I'll talk more about index fossils in another activity, but we'll just leave it at that for now. All right, come on, buddy.